I see the Penguins logo.
Kyle Dubas to Pittsburgh. It finally happened. Kyle Dubas is coming to the Penguins, but not exactly as expected. He's not the general manager. He's the new president of hockey operations, and I think this is a perfect fit. Obviously, the way things unfolded in Toronto got a bit messy in the end, as it seems pretty evident that there was a power struggle going on where Dubas was seemingly looking for more control. But without getting into all of that, I think over in Pittsburgh, this makes complete sense. Pittsburgh is coming off an upset season where they missed the playoffs for the first time in 17 years. This despite being able to keep the core together.
Wow, 16 years.
And while you can technically say that that was Hextall's doing, you know both Letang and Malkin had very little desire to leave Pittsburgh when he signed them. All Hextall had to do was not screw it up, which he almost did. What he definitely did screw up was filling in the missing pieces around the core with some horrendous decisions over his tenure. So with not only Hextall getting fired, but also Burke, this left a wide open hole in Pittsburgh that fits Dubas to a T, and here's why.
We're going to be moving anyway now. So our kids are going to be 6 and 2. Shannon's view was if we're going to move, we may as well move now before the kids are too entrenched.
He clearly values his family, and being president of hockey operations is a role he could fit in Pittsburgh for a very long time to come. It is typically a much more stable position than general manager, and that job security of knowing you're not going to have to move anytime soon likely played a large role in his decision. So by getting a promotion, he gets the power he wanted in Toronto in Pittsburgh. And he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who would just play president of hockey ops and sit back without involving himself in the GM duties. I think what we could see here will be more of a hybrid position where he is very much involved in the GM side of things as well. And so while it made sense for him, it made a lot of sense for Pittsburgh. He's attractive for many reasons. During his time in Toronto as GM, he had in 5 years become one of the most successful GMs in Toronto.
Toilet flush.
Yes, he gets a core that's already signed, but filling in the missing pieces will be hard when working with a very tight cap of about $20 million while having 18 players under contract.
With the announcement of summer, I'm gonna do like a summer bash or whatever I'm gonna call it, whatever I end up calling it. I'm gonna do like a summer bash where it's just gonna be all the videos from the summer and maybe some specials. When I get verified, I'm definitely gonna put on that membership because it's not gonna put out it on itself.
Also anchored to some brutal contracts in Carter, Petrie, and Granlund. And that is exactly why Pittsburgh wanted Dubas. He's got some experience with this. Despite a tight cap in Toronto, he was able to bring in key guys at the deadline repeatedly. Most recently, guys like Ryan O'Reilly and Achari. And I know they didn't have great success in the playoffs, but I don't fault him for this, as he put together a great team in Toronto, at least on paper. And with just one first-round pick since 2018 in Toronto, Dubas also did a pretty solid job of putting together a good prospect pool with little to work with, most notably drafting Matthew Knies. And lastly, there are similarities in goaltending as well. He let Campbell go in free agency in what was criticized at the time, but now look at how well that turned out. Campbell hasn't been great in Toronto, to say the least, and Samsonov did great filling in that role. He's got a similar situation in Pittsburgh with Tristan Jarry. And so yeah, overall, FSG was looking for young.
I would like to pull out this finger, pull out a flurry stick. Pull it out, please. Please bring that flurry. Do this. Don't. I'm being mad at you.
Competitive and analytical management, and that is exactly what they got in Dubas. It's a perfect fit if you ask me, and they've given him the keys to the organization as a result, so he'll be able to fill out the rest of the roles as he sees fit. I'm personally very excited to see what comes of this, but you guys let me know. Will Kyle Dubas be a good fit in Pittsburgh? As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
And then that's an each version of the video. I think, at least. yeah, there's gonna be like no
I don't
radio
understand
show
the
for
Toronto
like 2
Maple Leafs.
weeks.
I just
I'll tell
don't.
you
Kyle
what.
Dubas is fired. They're in search of a new GM, and by all accounts, it's going to be Brad Treliving. And I gotta say, some Leafs fans are being optimistic, or at least open to Treliving's hiring. And I gotta say, I was actually really supportive of how he handled a very difficult Calgary Flames offseason coming into this year. Like, he had the worst possible hand dealt when it came to Tkachuk and Gaudreau wanting to leave. But on the other hand, to me, this is like the worst possible example of the NHL simply recycling the same few GMs and coaches. They fired Dubas, who, of all things, was at least a bold GM after a lack of success. But under Treliving's management, the Calgary Flames weren't exactly...
Sorry. I got to say this. It was like yesterday when we had like 14 subscribers. And we had 21. Now we are on 22 subscribers. Yeah, I think our channel's growing real quick. But anyway, get back to your radio show. We're back.
Google Pixel Fold, the only foldable phone engineered by Google. Pre-order Google Pixel Fold and get Pixel Watch.
Now this is his opinion on the situation.
I don't understand the Toronto Maple Leafs. I just don't. Kyle Dubas is fired. They're in search of a possible example of the NHL simply recycling the same few GMs and coaches. They fired Dubas, who, of all things, was at least a bold GM after a lack of success. But under Treliving's management, the Calgary Flames weren't exactly the sweethearts of the NHL. Like, it's sort of baffling to me that the Toronto Maple Leafs looked at the roster they have and figured, well, who do I want to emulate in terms of team composition and management? The Calgary Flames of the 2010s. Under Treliving's management, the team saw 2 round 2 losses both last year and in his first year. Otherwise, we're all round 1 knockouts or playoff misses, like this past year. And I think this most recent year is a great example of how you can't blame all of the team's success or failures on the GM. I thought this year's Calgary Flames was at least going to be a playoff contender, if not much better than that. But Treliving has not shown the ability to structure a team that can win. It's as simple as that. And if that's why Dubas has been fired, you're not confident in his abilities to lead the Leafs to future success, why are you hiring someone who's also shown no success in that area? Again, I'm not blaming all of the Flames' failures on Treliving. Again, as with most people, I thought he got a good return for Tkachuk in the offseason. Some of his other moves, not a huge fan of. His decision to abandon Sam Bennett, for example. I really like this summary on the wincolumn.ca, which I'll link down below. As many good trades as Treliving has made, he's also made as many mistakes. It's just the art of being a general manager in pro sports. Treliving's main flaw through the years has been the repeated mistake of sending out draft capital for short-term patchwork solutions. It also goes on to talk about how many players just completely perform differently out of Calgary's system, but the hiring of coaches and staff also falls to the GM, and it's not something that the Leafs can ignore, especially when most likely Treliving is going to have a major coaching decision to make with Sheldon Keefe probably not returning. Those are just my thoughts, though. Let me know what you think, Toronto fans, Calgary fans. Is this a good GM decision or not? I look forward to reading your comments. Oh, just an addendum. Speaking of major decisions, hopefully a Treliving-led Maple Leafs can handle Matthews on an expiring contract better than the Flames handled Gaudreau.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up.
I'm convinced that in order to win this league, you need superstars who are going to take a little... You aren't just one you.
Maybe I should start with Johnny on.
And all of them deserve the best. Introducing Max, the one to watch. So according to multiple reports, Brad Treliving is going to be named the Toronto Maple Leafs GM today. Honestly, if you would have asked me 2 months ago,
2 days ago.
In my last video, I simplified famous package designs, and while some people liked it, a lot of others got quite upset. So to appease the masses, I'll be making minimal products more complex to bring back some of their personality. And first up, we have Pringles. Now, I think I speak for everyone when I say, look.
honestly, if you would have asked me 2 months ago if I thought Brad Treliving was going to be the GM of the Maple Leafs, I would have been floored, and I would have said, what? Why are you even thinking about this? No, it's Kyle Dubas. He's fallen on the sword. He's so loyal to his Toronto Maple Leafs. And even if he were to get the boot, I did not think that Tree would be the one to replace him. But to his credit, I mean, he's been the front runner pretty much this entire process that Shanahan's been looking for a GM. Yes, there were some whispers about Doug Armstrong, if they could pry him out of St. Louis, and there were some other names in there like Matt Bergevin, which would have been hilarious. But, hey, the whole way through, Treliving was number one on top of their wish list. And now this is being announced, I'm seeing a lot of slander towards Brad Treliving's GM skills, especially from Flame fans who honestly, about a month and a half ago were saying, please re-sign Tree, please re-sign Tree. Now we're saying, oh, he's a terrible GM, he lost Gaudreau for nothing, and he made some terrible signings. I don't agree with that. I think he's a great general manager. And yes, I could absolutely be biased. And look, he's made his fair share of mistakes. He's made some really bad signings. I'm looking at you, James Neal, and Troy Brouwer. And yes, he did let Johnny Gaudreau walk for nothing. But look, his hands were tied in that situation. I always said I would be furious at Treliving if he let Johnny Gaudreau walk in free agency. It ended up happening, but honestly, I didn't blame the guy at all. That was Johnny Gaudreau pulling a Houdini trick. But there is two things that I will say, probably the two biggest mistakes he made as Flames GM. Open your ears for this one, Leaf fans. The season before that, he could have locked up Gaudreau if he would have paid up, but he elected not to, and go with Johnny Gaudreau into his last season of his contract without an extension. That's where the big mistake was made. And then obviously the Tkachuk thing, signing him to a 3-year deal in 2019 to keep Michael Frolik rather than paying him more and signing him long-term. But the good news is I do think he learned from those mistakes, and he's going to walk into this Austin Matthews negotiation a lot smarter and wiser than
Okay. I think we can say Austin's walking out. Alrighty. And you might be like, how? Like he stated earlier. He had his hands tied up when Gaudreau was on his free agency and riding him.
A first-time GM or even a GM with experience who's never gone through something like that before. Tree is going to be really well equipped to handle this Austin Matthews thing. And people who were worried that, the Johnny Gaudreau thing's going to happen with Austin Matthews, that's not how this works. This isn't just a GM who, this always happens to them. No, he's going to learn his lesson here. And he's going to approach it differently. So to be
he's not.
honest with you, I'm ecstatic with this hire. I love it for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, one of my favorite teams, and now they've got one of my favorite general managers ever. So I think this is going to be a really good match. I think he's going to make the Leafs better. And Toronto, smile here. Be happy. This is a good GM hire for you. I mean,
yeah,
I've seen people like it's doomsday, like, no, I can't believe we got Treliving. He's sucking. No, this is a good hire for you guys. Rejoice, Leaf fans. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
Yes, see you in the next one.